So welcome back to the next lecture of physical chemistry. So from this lecture onwards we will start the unit number 4, that is electrochemistry and bioelectrochemistry. Okay, so in this unit we are going to study the various concepts related to our Debye-Huckel theory and concentration terms, how it differ for the strong electrolyte and the weak electrolyte. Then next we are going to see the various types of batteries or the cells that generally find its application into the industrial purpose or some renewable energy sources. Okay, so specifically we are going to see some cells like phosphoric acid, then H2 cell. Okay, so based upon that we are going to get the uh, that application and their mode of working. And in last points we are mainly focusing upon the bioelectrochemistry. Okay, bioelectrochemistry, so there we are going to understand how the electrical signal plays an important role in the biological systems. Okay, so what is the importance of that electrical signals in the biological system can be understood in the bioelectrochemistry. Okay, so in initial that introductory part of the electrochemistry, we first of all need to understand this Debye-Huckel theory of electrolyte and activity coefficient. Okay, activity coefficient. Now specifically this Debye-Huckel theory, we all know that this is applicable for the electrolyte solution. Okay, Debye-Huckel theory is applicable to electrolyte solution only at low concentrations. Okay, only at low concentration. If you try to apply this theory at a certain critical concentration value, so after that critical concentration value you could not be able to apply this Debye-Huckel limiting law for that particular electrolyte. Okay, and why is it so? So there are the various factors like a symmetric effect, electrophoretic effect that we are going to see. Okay, so that effect will affect the overall dissolution of that particular electrolyte. So the expected values of the that various parameter like conductance or uh, okay concentration, that may not be exact what we are expecting from the basis of our theoretical calculations. Okay, so there is a difference in the theoretical and observed values. So this Debye-Huckel theory is applicable to the those solution which are having the dilute nature. Okay, so this important thing is that now in order to understand this Debye-Huckel theory, first of all we need to understand what is the that why we need to understand this activity or activity coefficient. Okay, so first of all we need to understand what is the meaning of activity. Okay, now we all know that for the solutions we generally express the concentration in terms of molarity. Okay, molarity or molality. Okay, this is capital M, this is small m. Okay, either we express the concentration in molarity or normality. Okay, for normal solution we will express it in terms of the normality, and for molar solution we will express it in the molarity, and sometimes we express the concentration in the molal solution. Okay, molal. So this is the concentration in the 1 liter and this is the concentration in the 1 kg of solvent. Okay, so that is the difference. So for my strong electrolyte, like strong electrolytes are like NaCl, okay, KCl, that is salts. Okay, strong salts. So what I have find that NaCl or KCl are completely soluble in my water. Okay, so even if I am dissolving 1 gram, my whole solution will also containing the equivalent ions corresponds to this 1 gram of ion. Okay, that is the Avogadro's number. So overall I get the that much amount of ions of Na. Okay, this is Avogadro's number. So I will get this much amount of ions of sodium and as well as for the that of the chloride. Okay, if I am dissolving 1 gram of sodium chloride in 1 liter of water. Okay, 1 liter of water. But this is the case for the strong electrolyte. But if suppose my electrolyte is a weak electrolyte like or benzoic acid, okay, or some organic acids, okay, salicylic acid or uh, okay, benzoic acid or calcium hydroxide, okay, inorganic salts like benzoic acid or calcium hydroxide, okay, CaOH twice. So those electrolytes which are like not that much soluble in water or partially soluble in water, once they are dissolved in the given sample, okay, once they are dissolved into the given sample, we could not expect that whole sample will get dissolved and we get the equivalent of ions in the given solution. Means what? Suppose I am having say 1000 molecules of sodium chloride, okay, so when I have dissolved that into the water 1000 molecule, so I will get separate 1000 Na plus ion plus 1000 Cl minus ion, okay. This is the case for my strong electrolyte. But now if I am having 1000 ions of say calcium hydroxide first, okay, this is the hypothetical case. We take the ions in terms of concentration, okay. So I am, for understanding purpose, I am taking it into the number form. So for my weak electrolyte like calcium hydroxide, once that 1000 ions are of calcium hydroxide are put into the water, I won't get that 1000 calcium ions separately and 1000 hydroxide, not 1000, 2000 hydroxide ions separately, okay. So maybe like I'll get this calcium ions less than 1000, say around 700 to 800 ions I can get, okay. So it will solely depends upon its activity, okay. So this term will comes into the act for this weak electrolytes, okay. So and here I have told that I may get 2000 hydroxide ions, okay. Why is it so? Because you can see here that the coefficient or the, okay, it is 2, coefficient for the hydroxide ion is 2, so the concentration when it get dissociated will be double for hydroxide ion, okay, or hydroxide ion. But in molecule it is one quantity. For this whole molecule it will be consisting of only one quantity, okay. So for understanding, means for strong as well as weak electrolyte, we can make a common concept which can be applicable for both strong and weak electrolyte, okay. And so what is that concept? That is the concept of activity, okay. So we cannot use the concentration term for all the electrolyte. So for all electrolyte we can make a concept of activity. So what do you mean by activity? So the activity of a substance in any given state is defined as the ratio of fugacity of a substance in the that particular state to the fugacity of the same substance in the standard state, okay. Fugacity or the we can say concentration, okay. So we can say that, okay, let my f or the activity is f upon f0, where f is not f is equals to what? Fugacity of a substance in the given state, and f naught is the fugacity of the same substance in the standard state, okay. So for an ideal gas the activity is equals to pressure, okay. So we only know this. So activity is nothing but pressure for the ideal gas. So for ideal gas we get this, okay, because this standard state activity or fugacities comes out to be 1, okay. So the activity is proportional to only, okay, p to the power of gamma. So overall we can say that the activity is gamma into p, okay. Activity is equals to gamma into p. So for an electrolyte the activity is proportional to the molarity, okay. So this is for the gaseous sample, okay. So this is for the gaseous sample, and for solid samples we tend to measure the molarity, okay. We tend to measure the molarity. So for molarity we can say that activity is directly proportional to molarity, and which is nothing but activity is equals to molar concentration into my activity coefficient, okay. So this new constant will comes into the play, which will define the mode of or the amount of dissociation into the given sample, okay. So how will you get that activity coefficient? So in order to get that activity coefficient, consider that general dissociation reaction of a univalent electrolyte, which is represented as this. Okay. So my Ma is the univalent electrolyte which was dissociated into M plus and A minus. So applying the law of chemical equilibrium. Okay. So law of mass action is applied. So for this equilibrium reaction, the law of mass action is what? This activity of this M plus ion into activity of A minus ion divided by activity of my reactant, that is activity of Ma. Okay. But we got know this, that activity can be expressed as, okay, activity can be expressed as the activity coefficient into molarity. So we are writing that specifically for that M ion or A minus ion and for the given molecule or the reactant. Okay. So we get this activity coefficient into molarity of that specific ions. Okay. So that is the activity coefficient for the individual ions. Okay. So that is the activity coefficient of individual ion. But in practice we could not find the individual ions separate. Means suppose we cannot have the only Na plus ions or only OH minus ions or only Cl minus ions. Okay. So in practice we cannot find these ions individually. So along with this Na plus ion we have to some counter negative ion which will satisfy its valency. Okay. So for this purpose we use the mean ionic activity coefficient. Okay, mean ionic activity coefficient. Okay. So how will it differ from the activity coefficient? So the mean ionic coefficient can be obtained by this derivation. Okay. So consider a strong electrolyte AXBY. Okay, AXBY. Here X and Y are the their subscript, means the number of moles of that particular ions. Okay, which undergoes the dissociation. Okay, it undergoes the dissociation as this reaction. Okay, so my AX plus AXBY molecule gets dissociated into the X mole of A plus plus Y moles of B minus. So molarity before dissociation and after dissociation. So before ionization we can say the molarity of my reactant is M, and molarity of these particular ions are 0. Okay, because initially no dissociation or ionization has takes place. So we can say that the ionization is 0, means that concentration of that A minus and A plus and B minus ions is 0. Now next is the molarity of a that particular system after ionization. Okay, so after fully ionization, why I am saying that fully ionization? Because we have assumed that the electrolyte is a strong electrolyte, and we all know that strong electrolyte completely ionizes. Okay, so this AX and BY having the 0 concentration, after complete ionization this reactant is completely get removed from the system, and we get whole concentration of this X moles of A and Y moles of B. Okay, so molarity of the A plus ion or the positive ion is X into M, and molarity of the negative ion is Y into M. Okay, so the overall concentration is what? Overall molarity is X plus Y. Okay, now the activity of the cations and anions can be given as, specifically we are writing activity of cation and anion, that is activity of cation is gamma plus into M plus, that is activity coefficient of cation into molarity of cation, and for negative ion, that is B minus ion, we can say that it is activity coefficient, that is gamma minus into M minus. Okay, now the activity coefficient of electrolyte is given by, for the overall activity we get this type of equation. Okay, so activity coefficient is the multiplication of each individual ions. Okay, activity, overall activity is the multiplication of each ions. Okay, into, okay, just a minute. Okay, so that is the equation for the activity of an electrolyte, whole electrolyte. Okay, so from the equation, above equation, we got the values of A plus and A minus, and this whole raised to X and Y. Okay, so we have, upon simplification of that particular derivation, we get the like gamma raised to X into X raised to X. Okay, so all these simplification steps will gives us the final derivation as, okay, So finally we get the derivation as x raised to x into y raised to y into m raised to gamma m raised to x plus y into gamma plus minus raised to x plus y. Okay, and this gamma plus minus represent the mean ionic activity coefficient. Okay, it is a mean ionic activity coefficient which is formed for the overall solution or the for overall electrolyte, because individual activity coefficient for the specific ion is not obtainable, so we have to consider the mean ionic activity coefficient for the particular electrolyte. Okay, now next important formula is the ionic strength of a solution. Okay, ionic strength of a solution. So for ionic strength, we get the formula as either I is equals to or mu is equals to 1 by 2 summation of mi zi square. Okay, summation of mi zi square. So this uh, I or mu will gives you the concentration of that particular ions. Okay, it will not give you the idea of activity, it will gives you the exact concentration of ions. Okay, I am talking about the concentrations. Okay, concentration. So here we are not considering the degree of dissociation or some other ionization constant. Okay, that value, we'll simply consider the concentration term only. And how will you get the ionic strength of solution? So ionic strength of solution is given by 1 by 2 mi zi square, where mi is what, again molarity. Mi is the molarity of that particular ion. Okay, molarity of that particular ion, and zeta is the charge. Okay, charge of that specific ions. Okay, number of charge. Okay, charge of the specific ion. So that is the okay, ionic strength of a solution. Now next is the de-Broglie limiting law. Okay, so limiting law is gives you the idea of up to what limit that de-Broglie theory is applicable. Okay, up to what limit that de-Broglie theory is applicable. So it states that the departure from the ideal behavior in the given solvent, which is proportional to the ionic strength of a medium and the valencies of the ions, and it is not depending upon the chemical nature of the given electrolyte. Okay, so according to this limiting law of de-Broglie theory, the departure from ideal behavior. So ideal behavior is what, you should get the increasing amount of that activity coefficient with increase in the concentration. Okay, but it might be get deviated from its ideal behavior, and the deviation is due to what, it is due to the ionic strength of a medium, that is solvent, and the valencies of the given ions. Okay, and it is not depending upon the nature of the given chemical substance. Okay, so mathematically this limiting law is put into this form. Okay, so for that mean ionic activity coefficient, if we take the logarithm of that, so log of gamma plus minus is equals to minus a into uh, zi square into under root of mu. Okay, so where a is the okay constant which is depends upon the ionic strength of solvent. Okay, a is a constant which depends upon the solvent. Zeta is the again charge of the that particular ions, and mu is what, mu is nothing but our ionic strength. Okay, mu is the ionic strength. Okay, mu is the ionic strength. Now next, for the distilled water. Okay, for the water, the value of a is comes out to be 0.509. Okay, 0.509. So you may not be provided with this value, so you should remember the value for a for the water. Okay, for water, so it is 0.509 for the water. So based upon that value, you will get the value of mean ionic activity coefficient. Now next is the verification of the de-Broglie limiting law. Okay, so de-Broglie limiting law is what, log of gamma plus minus is equals to minus of a into zi square under root of mu. So we can verify this above equation by plotting the graph of this. Okay, y is equals to mx. So this type of graph is there, y is equals to some slope into x. So we can put the graph of or plot the graph of this log of gamma plus minus versus square root of mu. Okay, so we have plotted that graph in the revert manner. Okay, revert manner. So either you can read here as a negative log of gamma plus minus. So we have plotted that graph in the revert manner. Okay, so actually if you plot the positive graph, so you should get the graph of the type, okay, this nature. Because why is it so? Because slope of the graph will always negative. The slope of the graph is always negative. So for various type of electrolytes, so the slope nature is depends upon what? Slope will be depends upon minus 0 point. So slope will be depends upon 0.509 into zi square. Okay, so my whole slope is depending upon the this nature. Okay, nature of that electrolyte. So my nature of electrolyte will be decided by zi square. Okay, and the square of any number is either positive number or negative number is positive. Okay, so charge either of cation or negative anions, okay, negative ions, is always becomes positive because we are taking the square of that ions. So my negative always my slope will be in the negative direction. Okay, so instead of that we are plotting that graph as the minus log of gamma plus minus versus square root of mu. So we get the increasing slope for the univalent, then bivalent, trivalent, because the slope will be depends upon the, okay, slope will depends upon this zi value. Okay, slope will be depends upon the this z plus and z minus values. Okay, so next part is the extension of this Debye-Huckel theory for the higher concentration. Okay, so we got to know that this Debye-Huckel theory is applicable for the electrolyte only under the low concentration. So for high concentration what we can do? So Debye-Huckel theory for activity coefficient is valid for only dilute solution. So for higher concentration level, the extra coefficient has been added by the Huckel and Bronsted by introducing the concentration term. Okay, concentration term. So the extended Debye-Huckel limiting law is like this, that is log of gamma plus minus is equals to minus of a into z plus into z minus into mu under root of mu plus c of mu. Okay, so this equation is also known as Debye-Bronsted equation. Okay, so we'll try to solve some example based upon this Debye-Huckel theory and the ionic strength. Okay,